Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast specifically designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop, music, and culture that happened throughout the week. Big shout out to all of the listeners to this podcast, past and present. Welcome, newcomers. Whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcast audio from. Also, big shout out to those who have subscribed to this channel, whether you be past or present. Welcome. For those who are new, welcome back. For those who are OGs and on the road to OGs of Hip Hop Now podcast. If you don't know, and this is your first time, this is a podcast specifically designed for news and perspectives and reviews and sometimes interviews, bars, that, feeds the hip hop soul. We don't focus too much on who got arrested, and stuff like that, because honestly, that dominates the news when it comes to hip hop. But if you're the type of hip hop head, you want to know what new album's out. Maybe you want to know whether you should even give it time to play. You want to hear about any news, upcoming albums like Mobb Deep album on the way, DJ Premier, and Nas on the way. Pharoah Monch, don't forget Pharoah Monch on the way. If you want to have information like that, or if you would like to learn about people within hip hop who are doing hip hop things, like Marcus J. Moore, who wrote the De La Soul book. I know De La Soul told you not to read it. Did they tell you not to pay your rent? No. Check out the interview, judge for yourself. He's a fan, like we're fans. It wasn't what you think. Also, maybe you don't know about certain hip hop heads that are like in the wings that are kind of crazy. I did an interview recently with I Am God right here on this channel, straight out of Chicago. If you don't know who he is, even hear me say the name I Am God, like, who is that? Go check out the interview and then definitely listen to the music, and you'll see why I did what I did, right? That's why he was here on the platform. So again, this platform is filled with hip hop content, debates, and all the things we love about it. And sometimes some live streams. I'm coming back. I'm just getting myself situated, right? I'm just getting myself situated before I come back in full form with a live stream, which actually might even happen today when the show is out. So who knows? If you're from the future, come on, man. You already watched both, man. Get your ass out of here, okay? You're spoiling everything. But nevertheless, that's what this is about. So I appreciate everybody who subscribes, who likes, who reviews on Apple Podcasts, and share. Do all of those things, especially those who just come through because they like the shorts I post. And real quick, if you subscribe to the channel and maybe you're like somebody who likes TikTok or somebody who likes Instagram stories, or maybe you don't like those things, but you hang out on YouTube, well, the shorts I have are really what the same thing I do on Instagram stories, right? I see people posting dope stuff about hip hop. I share it with the people who follow me. That's really how it goes. I'm not trying to eat off of them, nothing like that. It's just really sharing hip hop content. So if enough people feel like this is a source to see some dope stuff, you know what I'm saying? If they don't go and follow the originators, and I'm not talking about you guys who rip music videos off of the internet and then put your branding on it as if you're presenting it. It's not your original content. You're remixing it, but it's hip hop. That's what we all do. And I don't mind sharing your stuff without covering up your logos, because I could do that, but I don't. It's all love here. So there you have it. Subscribe if you love it. Hit that like button if you like it. Definitely comment, because I read all the comments and I respond most of the time, unless you're on some dumb ish. I can't help you, fam. All right. Big shout out to hiphopdx.com, allhiphop.com, double XL mag, and a couple of places where I got my stories from. Let's get right to the business. Hip Hop Now podcast merch on the chest. You see me? All right. So Big Sean thinks that J. Dilla is arguably the greatest producer of all time. Well, Captain Obvious, no ish Sherlock. Okay. Um, that's probably old now. I probably sound like an old man, like no ish. I'm not cursing because it's a family show, but no ish Sherlock. It's like who's Sherlock? Somebody young's like, who's that? But this is on hiphopdx.com. And I'm gonna read from it a little bit. But he said, and I quote, because he calls J Dilla a genius. He was born with a gift, a natural rhythm about him. They say he could match pitch perfect harmony before he even learned how to speak. And for a kid from the East Side growing up in the 80s, music was like currency. It was a way to make sense of the world, to connect with people, and his craft connected us all. His greatness is clocked in the tiniest increments of time. That's why J Dilla is one of the greatest producers, if not the greatest of all time. He was a genius, hands down. He changed music forever. With what with what Big Sean just said, and he said it pretty eloquently, right? I'm not saying a big word. Okay, don't get scared. But what he just said is the perfect description for why you would argue for J Dilla to be greatest of all time. Now, some people they have no idea beyond the ones they do know of what J Dilla has produced in the hip hop game. But it's not just what he's produced. Sure, there are bigger household names that come up first before you even get to J Dilla, and I'll just say a few, right? Like Dr. Dre comes to mind, Kanye West comes to mind. A household name. I'm not saying I agree with what he's saying now. I'm just saying. Kanye West comes to mind, Q-Tip, Large Professor, Marley Marl, Pete Rock, DJ Premier, DJ Quick for some people. Like the list goes on and on and on, right? Where some of the, maybe not DJ Quick for everybody, West Coast heavy, they know everything he's done. And hip hop heads who have a wider palette understand everything that he's done. But for the most part, they're just, to make the example, they're just people who have done production throughout the history, even if you're just taking Dre and Premier, right? Or RZA, like who have a bigger impact where they're the maestro behind the music, right? So their legend is much bigger because there are more beats that are, or songs, I should say, that they produce that are so popular, they're synonymous with those beats. Whereas Jay Dilla, some people don't know that some of your favorite records were produced by Jay Dilla. Some hits, right? Some people don't know that Jay Dilla was a part of the UMA and really was really good. And this is in general, not just with Tribe, but because UMA was a part of Tribe Called Quest, if you didn't know. Um, Particularly on Beats, Rhymes, and Life is when that came about, right? He was a part of the production team. But this is where we get into the genius of Jay Dilla. You couldn't have told me that the beats that Dilla did weren't the beats that Tip did because they sound exactly like Q-Tip and not like biting. He was just really good at making your best. That's the difference, right? So he can make a beat that sounds like Q-Tip did it. Like Tribe Called Quest is the one album I don't like. The Love Movement, the lead single, Find My Way. You couldn't tell me Q-Tip didn't produce that, but he didn't. Dilla produced it, right? On Raekwon's probably third album, but Only Built for Cuban Links 2, right? On Only Built for, I think that was his fourth album. Only Built for Cuban Links 2, Dilla got production on there that at first I was, I knew Dilla did production on the album, but I didn't know what song it was because I didn't look at the credits at the time. And I was like, well, damn, which one is the Dilla song? And it was the one that I thought like RZA did. You know what I'm saying? Because it sounded like a RZA beat. But again, he can do you at your best. But then he also could do Dilla, right? Slum Village stuff, Donuts, which honestly, I think that's a classic beat CD, and maybe I'll do that. Maybe not CD, but you know what I mean, album. And maybe I'll do that, like my top 5 beat albums. That'd be a nice episode. That could be a bonus episode. Uh, but Donuts is another example, and then there are tons of other instrumental albums he dropped. Slum Village, his own solo career as a rapper, music he did for others like Busta, and so many more. But that's not even why you would consider him a genius alone or the greatest producer of all time. If you ever read the book, and it's right over there on my shelf if you're watching on YouTube, the J.Dilla book, right? That was done maybe 2 years ago, that does an excellent job of breaking down Dilla's technique. And that's where the genius lies. I'll just give you a quick example before we move on, but Dilla, when he like, you could go listen to Slum Village. What is it? Fantastic Boys Volume 2, something like that. I can't deal with the long titles. But the second one, okay? Fantastic, the second one. If you look it up, you'll see it. Uh, there were beats on there that sometimes I used to feel like, is this offbeat? Like, I don't know if I like this. Like, why do people like this? And what I didn't realize back then, that I realized from interviews and stuff like that, and that book in particular about Dilla reinforced it, was that Dilla was finding another way to hear rhythm, right? There's a certain way we are kind of programmed to hear rhythm in most music, right? Now, I'm not going to break it down, and stuff like that, because it's in the book. You can find people talking about it. Like, the knowledge of it is everywhere. But there's a specific pattern that we are programmed to understand as rhythm. And when it's off, it tends to sound like it's off beat. But what Dilla did was like, no, it's not off beat. It's just a different way to hear rhythm. And once you think about that, all of a sudden it doesn't sound offbeat. It just sounds different than you expect. Now, some people will be like, sounds different because it's offbeat. That's what it is. Okay, well, keep eating McDonald's, you bum ass. Okay, I'm sorry. I got excited. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, understand that there's something much deeper than making a beat happen here, because, and this is on record, there are a number of classically trained jazz musicians specifically who look up to Dilla in a way you couldn't understand, because they admire the fact that he created something that didn't exist musically. And so he's inspired musicians. And I think he's inspired some um, producers as well who get it. But not everyone does that. No, not everyone tries to expand upon what he's already done, right? Which is what you're supposed to do, more than just copy. You're supposed to take that and evolve it. So I'm not mad at Big Sean for his statement, especially the way he put it, especially knowing who Dilla is. I think for me personally, I might not put him as my number one, just because I feel like there's just more. Even though he did what he did, there are just other producers whose production is just crazy, and it checks a couple of boxes. And it may not be like, oh, he's a genius for doing this and this. They're just really good at it, and they had huge success with it. But Dilla is definitely in my top 5. He's definitely in my top 5, um, just off the strength of the genius of creating a new way to hear sound and rhythm. That's not usually what producers do. No, that's what musicians do, right? They play around to try to create something new and organic and stuff like that. Producers really don't do that half the time. They may experiment with different sounds and stuff like that, but you're still hearing it in a rhythm that is familiar. So there you have it. What do you think? Is J Dilla the greatest producer of all time? Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll check them out. I'll respond. I love to hear what you guys think. So BG just released a new album not that long ago called Freedom of Speech. And if you watch this podcast, if you listen to this podcast, you know what my criteria is for reviewing albums. It's 3 listens. First listen is just, I'm gonna just vibe with it and see what it is. Second listen, I'm just gonna listen a little deeper to the production, to the lyrics, to the concepts, and all that stuff. And third listen is just to confirm my thoughts. And for those people who don't like to wait, here's a quick review for you. It's all right. It's okay. It's fine. It is. To be honest, the album has about 15 tracks, clocking in around somewhere under an hour, I believe, because when you're looking on Apple Music, it says there's 22 songs, but these are videos, so they messing up. But it's 15 tracks on the album. Guest features include Juvenile, E40, uh, Baby, of course, or Birdman, I should say, Boosie Badass, and Fiend is on here also, who I haven't heard in a minute. That's who I'm thinking about, the same guy. And with that being said, on a more detailed level, let me just say this: out of the Cash Money camp when they first dropped, I was a big fan, and probably before they started doing solos. Um, I think BG had solos before this, but I was a big fan of Wayne. I was a big fan of Turk. Those were my two that I really like a lot. I liked Lil Wayne's style at the time. I liked his voice. Turk I like because I just liked his wordplay. He had a little bit more bars than most of the cats in the crew. On some stunt stuff, nothing super lyrical, miracle, spiritual. Put your miracles together, and you none of that. Okay, we know this, right? Stop. Boom bappers, fall back. I said BG's album. We know how y'all feel about anything that ain't head nod to sleep. Okay, but relax. We're not reviewing that. But I was more of a fan of those two guys. So with BG, I just wasn't a fan like that. Even though he had verses here and there that I liked. And when I heard Cash Money is on me, like I was like, oh, I like that joint. But I was never a fan to go and like listen to his music. And even today, right? Now maybe I'll go back and listen because I know people really like that one album he had. I don't know if it's his second album or his first. The one that has Cash Money is the Army. Well, I think it's that one. I don't know. But you know the one with the cover. You know the one I'm talking about. Them old covers and stuff, the crazy covers. But so my interest in him now had a little bit more to do with nostalgia for a time where Cash Money was big and Lil Wayne had kind of moved on. Juvenile was missing for a while from the game. Turk, I know, was like locked up and all that. And kind of like the Cash Money sound had died. It was gone, right? And that happens with a lot of people. Like, there ain't no Bad Boy sound no more. There ain't no Death Row sound. Like, that's unfortunately what happens, right? And so I was curious. So when he was released from prison, and I saw a couple of freestyles and guest verses he did, and I was like, "Yo, maybe I slept on him because these freestyles are alright." and maybe there's a part of me that missed his voice in the hip hop game because of how big Cash Money was, right? It was one of those things, kind of like, missing Manny Fresh, and seeing Juvenile do Tiny Desk, and like, damn, yeah, I remember Juvenile. I used to like Juvenile, like all of that. So when I knew he had an album coming out, especially a couple of them freestyles he did, them songs was dope. So I was like, well, when his album dropped, I'm gonna just check it out because I'm at a different time in my life. Back then you had to go buy it or you had to know somebody who had it. So most of the time I chose the people I liked first, and I didn't really gamble because the brother didn't have a lot of money to go buy everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everything. But now we in the realm of streaming services, and if you pay for a streaming service, you can go and listen to a person's entire catalog. We'll get to that after this. But that was my thinking. So when I pressed play on the album, I'm not gonna lie, there was a more of an instant regret when I hit play because I wasn't hearing what I heard in them freestyles. Mainly production. You know what I'm saying? It was almost as if I was hearing an album that could have dropped way back then, production wise. And I was like, man, I like BG over like the new stuff. Like, no offense because I don't have in front of me because a lot of times they don't even put that information on digital, or at least maybe you got to dig for it, like who produced it and all that. I don't know. Maybe let's see, man. Let's see in real time. Is there some info? No, there is not. Thank you, Apple Music. No, there is not. But I'm gonna assume Manny Fresh did some production because there's a lot of songs. There's a couple of songs that sound like Manny Fresh did it, and it reminds you of the time back then. I don't know if I necessarily like that because of what BG was doing when he was released from prison. He was rapping over beats that you typically hear now, right? I think he did a song with Boosie, and I think he did a whole project with Boosie, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe I need to go listen to that. And I think he did a couple of other features, but I liked what I heard. But after letting the album rock and understanding maybe this is just going to have a more Cash Money back in the back in the late 90s and early 2000s, mostly late 90s, I should say, then I'm going to just take it as that. I don't know if I want to hear that sound today versus back then, because most of the time I just go listen to my best of Cash Money mix, which includes BG songs. And it's dope when I listen to it. So I kind of feel like this, right? And I know it feels like I say these things all the time, but it's the truth. And it will spare you from any disappointment or maybe even being surprised. If you like BG and you want to hear that familiar sound, which I think that was their goal, that you knew prior to him going to prison, I would say you would like this album. Lyrically, he's talking about everything he's been through, and I appreciate that because it's not a lot of throwaway lyrics. It's really a lot of he's very thankful for where he is. He talks a lot about, you know, how he could have been dead, how he could have how he's appreciative of being free. This he shows a lot of faith in God on here. He talks a lot about that, and not just saying it like some guys do, but really telling you how his grandmother uh kind of kept him on the right path through instilling faith in him. And that's how he feels he's here today to even do this. So I appreciate a lot of that. Um, the cover's kind of crazy because I didn't realize, if you ever been to DC to the Martin Luther King exhibit, which is outside, and they have this big sculpture of him. I don't know if y'all could see this properly. Let's just wait for the camera to get right. But You can't really see it, but it's basically a mock-up of that same thing, which I think is kind of dope. I think if you never liked BG, you're not gonna like this. You're definitely not gonna like it when because he has this thing, and maybe he's been doing it on albums for years. But when I heard it, I was like, "What is that?" Like a baby, like why? Like I don't know if maybe that's a South thing. Like yo, that's how we be calling. Like okay, cool. I don't like it in the music. Okay, I don't like it. I know everybody has their thing, but that doesn't mean I have to like the thing from everybody. But it doesn't ruin the album for me. But if you don't like BG, you never like BG. Why are you even entertaining the idea of listening to this album? Unless you're curious, right? But it is what you expect. If you're indifferent, I think it's cool given his history and what he's talking about. But I will say this when he does a follow up, I needed to have that same energy from what I was hearing on those freestyles. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said something recently on social media that he couldn't really talk that talk on his album because he feels like they're going to use it against him to say, he's still committing crimes and he's rapping about it or whatever. Like they're gonna try to use his lyrics against him. So he kind of stayed away from some of that. And we know they've been kind of pressing him because at one point, and he raps about it, they told him that being a rapper was a job he couldn't do. He can do any other job. You go work at McDonald's, you work in all this other places, car wash, wherever you want to work, but you can't go and rap. That's crazy because this is what he does. This is how he can feed his family. This is how he can be a better part of society. And to me, the way he's talking on his album, yeah, he's giving an example. Now, I hope he continues to live it. I have no reason to think he won't. But I think as a whole, as an album, as a guy who's just been released from prison after what's I believe is more than a decade, if not damn near two, um, being locked up and being away from the game and watching, Birdman and Manny Fresh blow up and Wayne blow up all crazy, and he couldn't really do anything about it from being inside. So it's good to see him out. The album is cool. Will it be one of my best of the year? I doubt it. I wanted more from BG, and I understand if lyrically he couldn't do more, or if musically they wanted to recapture a time from Cash Money's heyday. I get it. I just thought it was fine. That's it. And lastly, so first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to Nick, uh, who has appeared on That Time in Hip Hop with us. In the past, he's appeared on Apartment 5B podcast, where you can see me appear from time to time, hosted by the homie Kill, right here on YouTube. Go look it up. Um, but he had a great idea based off of something I kind of saw happening on the internet about disographies in hip hop and people debating back and forth, who has a flawless discography and whose is better and blah, blah, blah. And it's just a reason to go down, memory lane and rank albums and really see who's really that good. Because not as many artists as you think have really good discographies. Like Wu Tang as a group, they have two, but they have way more albums as a group, not the solo stuff. As a group, they have way more albums than people like to talk about, right? Better Tomorrow, Eight Diagram. Like, I kind of like Iron Flag, but I think some people don't. I'm not the biggest fan of the W. Some people like it. I think a great group like Wu Tang has more misses than hits when it comes to their discography, which seems bananas, but we just say that don't matter. Who cares? Wu Tang Forever and Into the 36. That's it. That's all we care about. But there are artists and groups who have like in some cases like 3 or 4 classics straight and like in a row, or just good albums in a row. They probably have like one whack album, or more importantly, more good albums than bad albums. So Nick put in our group chat on WhatsApp that bars, what is a top 10 discography in hip hop? And I don't necessarily like to do these lists because I'm never settled, right? I feel like everything I say, I'm about to change it anyway. So I decided, I made a list of 10, but I decided to break it down to 5. And real quickly, because we don't want this to be a long podcast, we're going to go over 5 discographies that if you haven't heard all of their music, that it would be a more pleasant trip down memory lane for you to discover an artist that you may have known about for years, but you never known them this way, right? So, in no order: Scarface, Ghostface Killer, Gangstar, Outkast, and EPMD. Now, starting off the top with Scarface, if you don't know, I don't think Scarface has a whack album. He may have albums you like more than others. I just don't think he has an album that I can call whack, even up to his latest album or his last album, which came out a couple of years ago, called Emertus. I think that was the name of it. Crazy slept on. Like slept on like crazy. I just didn't see enough talk about it. But Scarface has like his debut solo album is my favorite Scarface album, which is Mr. Scarface is Back. You want to hear pure 90s gangster rap where the lyrics are so derogatory that you're like, people who played this in public? The stories alone, from heist stories to sex tracks that are crazy, like the way he's talking, it's crazy. No filter. And when you look at the cover, there's a gunfight on the cover, right? Illest cover ever. I forget what they call it, like a, no offense to anybody, it's like a Mexican showdown or something like that. Forget what it's called when everybody's like aiming guns in each other's face like that. Whatever that's called. Uh, but it's just not the cover. There's just so many dope records on there, right? Then you get, albums like The Diary. You know what I'm saying? Like, just quite honestly, I'm not even gonna go down the list because again, I don't want to be here forever. But Scarface has so many joints, right? If you listen to a best of Scarface, it's packed with excellent tracks, and it's not even all he has. You can literally go down the line and see how great some of his albums have been. And it's probably maybe 1 or 2 for me personally that are the least favorite, but you're talking about almost 10, maybe 10 albums. I think he got close to 10, somewhere in there. But again, the majority of his albums are crazy. Uh Ghostface Killer, right out the gate. Iron Man, Supreme Clientele, Bulletproof Wallets, especially the version, the bootleg. I know we can't count it, but the one that was supposed to come out. But even still, what was left over was crazy. Fish scale. Like we can go on and on and on and on. And with Ghostface in particular, I think it took him a minute to have an album that I was like, that one's okay. You know what I'm saying? It took a minute for that to happen. And his last album wasn't that good, right? But the one before that, Ghostface Killers, where he kind of came back, um, that one was good. I think that one did what everybody wanted this new album to do, right? I think it was Set the Tone. That was the name of the new album. But all in all, again, when you get through like Ghostface's first 5 solos. You're like, yeah, Ghostface has a serious catalog of music. You know what I'm saying? Even the concept albums he did, even though I didn't necessarily like the first one, the one he did with Adrian Young, I think he did it with. I didn't necessarily like that first one, but then the part two was good, and uh the part three is the best one, if you ask me. So again, storytelling, lyrics, beats, Wu-Tang feeling, Wu-Tang features, some of the greatest verses of all times featured on some of these. Supreme clientele, like Ghostface's Illmatic, basically. That just means his the best of the, even though I'm not gonna talk about that. But again, Ghostface catalog is crazy. What else? Gangstar. Don't get me started. Okay. Now the first album, it don't exist. Okay, it does. But when you listen to Gangstar's first album, that's not the group I'm talking about. You may listen and be like, oh, is Mass Appeal on here? No. Words That I Manifest is on there. It was a different time. It was a different Gangstar. Premiere wasn't the Premiere you know until Step Into the Arena. Then you start to be like, oh, this is Gangstar. Just to Get a Rap. Then Daily Operation, my favorite Gangstar album, is Pure Perfection. It's grown man rap before grown man rap was a thing. How about that? Then Hard to Earn is probably their best album. Beats, songs, it is their best album. Um, what was after that? They took some time off, and what was the joint that got Above the Clouds on it? I cannot remember now. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about? The one where they're in court or whatever on the cover. That album was crazy. Then the one they had after that, and even the posthumous album after Guru had passed that came out a couple years ago that Premier put together featured a song with J. Cole. That album was good. Gangstar's catalog or discography is damn near flawless, except for that debut. That's the only thing. But that's to be understood considering they changed as a group after that album. Had they been doing that from day one, I don't think they would have a whack album at all. So, Outkast, this is a no brainer. When you start to run down the different albums from Outkast, first and foremost, none of them sound the same. Excuse me, which is crazy. None of them sound the same at all. Southern Playalistic is different from AT Aliens, which is different from Aquemini and Stankonia. Speaker Box Love Below, they're all different and they're all great in their own right. I even like Idlewild. I watched the movie. The movie wasn't that great, you know. There's, it has a meme that goes around with Big Boy. Like I know that. I remember when it happened in the movie. I thought it's funny then. I know that ain't who I think it is. Like that's the best part of that movie. The movie's garbage, okay, but I like the soundtrack. And again, it's different. It's Outkast has always been different. So if you're into what Outkast is and you're not married to one version or another of them, I mean, go ahead and treat yourself. Go down that rabbit hole. Keep in context the time. Look at the year when you're listening to these albums. Because a lot of times people just listen to albums and they're not looking at the year to say, oh, that was 94. And in your mind, you're thinking about everything that came out. Or if you're too young, like, I don't know what came out in 94. Just go look up albums from 1994. And then you can listen to that within the context of the time, right? That'll help. And last, EPMD. Yo, for a long time, EPMD was my favorite group, hands down, until the breakup. Because when they came back, I was kind of like, it's not the same. I moved on. And it hadn't been the same. But I believe EPMD may have like seven albums, 7 or 8 maybe. But the first four are so impactful and dope and really have maybe one or two skips out, like, I mean, granted, there's songs you may or may not like, But, and you know which one I'm talking about. It's time to party. I'm talking about that as far as skipping on unfinished business. But the whole play on the business stuff, strictly business, unfinished business, business never personal. You know what I'm saying? Business as usual, back in business. You know what I'm saying? Like they just EPMD was just so dope. The funk beats, which was the main reason why I like them, because it's a lot. I love funk music in general from the older artists. And that's why I liked a lot of early West Coast hip hop, because they used a lot of funk beats. And that's why like you hear people like MC8 say they was really rocking with EPMD because of their production, which was a lot of funk beats, so EPMD, you get the bars, you get the crazy beats. Again, you get the introductions of like Redman, you get stuff like Headbanger, Posse Cut. Like you get all of these dope records. You get some samples that you may have heard other artists use that were used by EPMD first. You get one of the illest guest features of all time with LL Cool J on Rampage. Like EPMD's catalog is pretty dope. And again, when you're going back like this, like when I do the tier list of albums, I always look at the year. If I never heard an album during the time it came out and I'm looking at it like, oh, this was 91. And I'm trying to think of what was I doing that I missed it or decided not to. In some cases, it was like, I can't buy everything, dog. Y'all was rich as kids. Y'all was rich. I was not. Okay. So it was my mother's like remember Doctor Strange and Infinity War or Endgame? Like one. That was my mother. You get one album. That. So I had to choose what I thought would be that would satisfy me the most as a hip hop head at the time. Because if I had my choice, I just would have bought everything. You know what I'm saying? So there you have it. What are 5 discographies that you think are elite in hip hop? Or even, because I was going to do this, or even slept on? Leave your comments in the comment section below. This podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. Doesn't matter if it's Pocket Cast or Apple Podcasts. Lock in, subscribe, review, and all that good stuff. And also right here on the channel, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It's possible to get there. I don't know if we get there, but we're going to try. So if you loved what you heard and watched, subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube. Hit the like button on the video. It helps a brother out. But more importantly, share this with people you know enjoy this kind of content. Until next time, I'm not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.